In the last couple of weeks, Zimbabwe has seen the introduction of a new kind of fuel. It is called blend, and it's coming with it a price benefit. Now that blend is a blend between 90% of our normal petrol product and 10% of green fuel. That green fuel is being produced at this plant. This is the green fuel plant here in Chisumbanje in the Manicaland province. And from here, a special program of Token Business tonight. We investigate the source of that 10% blend, which is now making up 15% per day of all the petrol consumption in this country. We look at the impact of blend to the Zimbabwean economy and the impact of this project to the society here in Chisumbanje. You're watching Token Business. Joining me now to talk about this project is project manager Graham Smith. Thank you for joining us on Token Business. The last time I was here, that's more than 18 months ago, almost, just under 2 years ago. This was just a bush.
Yep.
Tell me the journey. How have you been able to put together such a structure that is now able to produce 130,000 litres of ethanol fuel per day?
Morning, Supa. Thanks for coming back and joining us here again. Yeah, it's been a heck of a journey. Mm-hmm. And the proof is in the pudding behind you now. We've got a plant, as you say, producing 130,000 litres a day. And that's roughly 15% of the country's requirements as we speak right now. The fuel has just hit the markets. How we got there? Well, it's basically been a lot of dedicated hard work by Zimbabweans to make sure that we've achieved to what we have today. A lot of faith by the investors in the country and some very astute businessmen that have pulled it off.
But this obviously, as I've been saying in my introduction, came at a time when everybody didn't want to touch Zimbabwe in terms of investment. Nobody would have imagined that investors would consider putting upwards of $200 million in a project like this.
Sure. One of the main reasons why we had the faith in this is that we've taken a model from Brazil. And if you look back in Brazil's history, they went through a very similar economic situation that Zimbabwe's gone through recently. And one of the main factors that pulled them out of that to the economy they are today has been their sugar industry, this exact same industry that we are replicating here.
What is the process? I mean, when we came here, you were opening up land for sugarcane plantations. You had planted quite a number of thousands of hectares of sugarcane. Tell us the process from the sugarcane plantation right up to the fuel that we're now seeing on the markets.
Okay, if you start from the actual agricultural development side, we have had to, first of all, refurbish and rehabilitate the existing estates that were available to us, which was here at Chisumbanje 2,500 hectares. That has now been fully refurbished, reconditioned, and has been under cane for over a year now, and that is what we're actually reaping today. We've got a further 5,000 hectares that we are finishing off right now that we've planted over the 2011 period. So we're now up to 7,500 hectares of sugarcane in the field, and we're going to be expanding that by 5,000 hectares a year. So we're now harvesting the cane from the field. It's being delivered here by tractors, haulage units, dropped in the plant. Very simple process. It's crushed. We remove the juice from the sugarcane that's turned into ethanol, and the dry matter, otherwise known as bagasse, is used to burn in a boiler to create steam. And that steam is the energy driver for the whole process in terms of driving the plant and also for producing excess electricity. We run our own electricity here from the plant, and in time, when we have sufficient cane stocks, we'll actually be exporting power back into the national grid.
Wow, this is amazing, this is significant. Why do we not think about this earlier? I mean, we had a serious fuel crisis in this country, and yet we still had the land, we still had the brains, and we still had the capacity to put such kind of investment.
If you look back in Zimbabwe's history, as far back as in the 70s, Triangle Estates, which is a sugar production factory, they, as a byproduct, they have a product called molasses, which they've been turning into ethanol, and they did it for many years in the 70s and 80s. It then became unviable because the cost of producing ethanol was higher than the cost of purchasing petroleum products. So that is what made the whole development in ethanol production slow down and come to a stop in many places. With the increased crude oil prices worldwide and the increase in petroleum prices worldwide, it has now made ethanol extremely viable to do it. And that's what's motivated us to get this project done.
Fantastic. But you're looking here at investment of upwards of $800 million over the next 3, 4, 5 years. What is that going to do to this plant?
Well, this plant right now, as we've said, it does 130,000 litres a day, and we're generating about 6 megawatts of power maximum capacity right now. Over the course of the next 2 years, this plant will be expanded so that it will be producing 850,000 litres a day, and it'll be generating 50 megawatts of power. So we'll be supplying in excess of 80% of the country's fuel petrol requirements from this plant, and we'll be generating roughly about 2% of the country's electrical requirement from this plant. Now, taken to mind, this plant is one of 3 that are going to be built on this project. So at the end of the day, in approximately 7 years' time, this whole development will be complete. The 3 plants will be up and running. We'll be generating in excess of 150% of the country's petrol requirements, and we'll be generating approximately 120 megawatts of power, which is about 10% of current power generating capacity in the country.
Brilliant. Let's leave that there and talk briefly about the fuel itself. How safe is it for motorists to be using the blend that we are now seeing on the market, where 10% is green fuel and the balance is obviously the petroleum product that are coming from the Far East and other places?
Sure. Ethanol as a fuel, one of the most important factors about it is that it is a green renewable fuel. Its carbon emissions are much lower than standard petroleum. And in fact, this whole process of growing sugarcane to burning the fuel as compared to a petroleum product, we're saving anywhere between 60 and up to as much as 98% carbon emission savings. So in terms of safety, extremely safe. In terms of safety for the vehicle itself, there is no damage can be done to the motor from it whatsoever. It is no different from petrol in how it burns and how the motor will perform. It has a slightly higher energy rate within it, which requires a higher airflow into the motor. So you can blend up to 20% in a standard petrol vehicle running on the road right now without doing any modification to it. If you want to run higher blends, which is more than possible, and in places like Brazil, the predominant fuel they're using there is E85 or 85% ethanol. 65% of their national fleet is running on that product. They put in what is called a flex fuel system. It's a very small electrical gadget, costs about $40 to fit it. And what it does is it automatically controls your air and fuel mixture ratio to allow you to use the ethanol in a standard petrol vehicle.
Okay, so if you're saying that in about 6 years' time, you will be producing about 85% of the country's petrol requirements, what does that mean in terms of the savings to the economy, in terms of the fuel that we are importing from various sources at the moment?
Well, right now the country's anticipated use daily is about 1.2 million litres a day of petrol. And if you take current prices of fuel at round figures, call it $1.50, we're looking at just over $2 million a day of foreign currency that is being spent on purchasing and bringing in imported crude products. Our product is about 75% to 80% of the cost of petrol. So in other words, we're going to be saving the country between $1.5 to $1.8 million a day in foreign currency leaving the borders of this country and being used and profiteered by other countries.
Well, that also means that when you are now operating at full capacity, there will be no opportunity for any other investor to kind of go into this kind of area. You've cornered the market.
No, not at all, Supa. Supa, here in Zimbabwe, yes, we're hoping to corner the market. That's our intention. But ethanol worldwide is gaining popularity as the alternative fuel to petroleum products. It has been recognized by the big oil companies. For instance, Shell this year has invested, from what I understand, in excess of $84 million in ethanol technology in Brazil, because they recognize it is the fuel of the future.
Welcome back, everybody. You're watching a special edition of the program Talk on Business. My name is Supa Mandiwanzira, coming to you from Chisumbanje in the Manicaland province. We're focusing on the Green Fuels project, which is the single largest investment in Zimbabwe outside mining in the last 5 years or so. And as we had earlier on, 4,500 people are employed by this project. Out of those, 12 are expatriates. Well, very few expatriates, but we still attracting some expatriates anyway. But this project is also attracting a special kind of expatriate, Zimbabweans who've been working outside the country, who've suddenly realized this is the place to be. Joining me now is Eric Towanda Berejena. He's a project engineer, plant engineer. Thank you very much for joining us on Token Business. You've just come back from the country to join this project. Give us some brief background of where you've come from.
Okay. Thank you, Supa. For the past 2 years, I've been working in Swaziland. I was a plant engineer responsible for boilers and powerhouse. In simple, I produce steam that in end produce energy for us to run the plant and to export to the villages nearby. It was a good experience, to say the least. But when I got this opportunity, comparing the two places, nothing is as good as being home and just looking at the amount of technology. The answer was yes.
We are right now in the heart of this ethanol plant, which is the control room where everything happens. Just give us a brief of what actually happens.
Okay, now you've come to my field.
Yeah.
This is the engine and the heart of the plant, in the sense that, okay, I'll take you back. Probably this is the only plant that you find with this level of sophistication in terms of control in the most of Southern Africa. It's the only plant of its kind that does ethanol in Africa. So the amount of sophistication we have, probably you only find it in a movie. Okay? So what happens here? Everything that's happening in the plant, we see it on these screens here. We've got 3 sets of screens that represent the 3 departments we have. We've got milling, Kenya did milling, we've got boilers, and we've got distillery. So in short, when the cane comes in, we see it. When the juice comes out of the cane, we see it. When the steam comes out from the boiler, we see it. When we send juice to distillery to get the ethanol, we also see it. When the trucks leave this place with the ethanol for Harare or wherever they're going, we see them. So in terms of control, if you can find me a place better than this.
Tell me that you're not just doing PR. You don't want to just impress your employer.
Well, I wish it was a case. I wish it was something like that, but it isn't. Okay, what I'm saying is, in most places, the control systems, they run blind. You run on experience, and you trust the guys you have. This plant is being run by people who've never done sugar. The reason why they're able to do it is because they've got the eyes and the ears. And the eyes and the ears are these computers. You see what I'm saying? We take someone from Chisumbanje, someone who doesn't have formal training. We train them here at Greenfield, and then we make them sit here or in the field. But they're making minimum mistakes. We've run so far, from today, going 7 days, we've not stopped. But we haven't taken guys who've done sugar. These are ordinary, local Chisumbanje, Chipinge, Kwekwe guys who've never done sugar. So it just shows you the amount of guidance they have from the system that's been put in place. And I've worked outside the country. I've been to South Africa, I've been to Zambia, just sugar industry. I've seen Zimbabwe, I've seen Swaziland. And I'll testify that I've not seen anything like this. This is state of the art.
Okay, so it's one very impressive thing, because when we had that there are just about 12 expatriates, and we thought we actually would see the expatriates in this control room. There are none. We're all Zimbabweans in this room right now. What does this say about the project and about the investment in local skills?
I think it's, first of all, it's faith. Number 2, in Southern Africa, I don't think you find a group of, I'm saying this seriously, of educated, intellectualized people as Zimbabweans. That's the gist of it. I've been outside the country. I've worked with guys, engineers from South Africa. I've worked with engineers from Swaziland. I've met guys from Zambia. When you come to Zimbabwe, someone may not have an engineering qualification or a degree, but the knowledge that he has at that level is the same as someone who's got a degree elsewhere. So,
and you are educated at which university?
From the University of Zimbabwe, proudly.
I want to thank you very much for joining me on Token Business, and congratulate you on the wonderful work that you are doing on Token Business. We hope to come back again and see what you've been doing, because our understanding is that this project is going to be much bigger than we're seeing right now.
It's going to fly.
Thank you very much for joining us. You're watching Token Business. My name is Supa Mandiwanzira. explain also in terms of irrigation associated with the estates where you're growing the sugarcane. You've also incorporated the community around that. Can you explain a bit more?
Okay, here at Chisumbanje, this is council land. It's always been designated by the government that it would be developed into a large-scale commercial agriculture project. The local community has been using some of the land on the understanding that that land would be used at a later date commercially. So what we've done is to incorporate the community in the process here. 10% of all the land that is being developed as irrigated land is being handed back to the community. And they are free to do with that land as they please. They're welcome to grow sugarcane as outgrows, which we will buy from them, or they can grow cash crops, food crops, whatever they like to do. But that land has been given back to the community. We've also got a number of outgrow schemes right at the moment. We've got 2 operating right now, which encompass over 500 hectares of sugarcane, where we are assisting the people that own that land to produce the sugarcane, and we're buying it off them. So, and that is going to be the model going forward. We will always have a core estate to ensure that the plant is not susceptible to any major issues, but a good portion of the cane that's going to come through the plants is going to come by people growing it locally themselves.
Toda kuziva kuti chirongwa chakauya pano pa Chisumbanje chekuti kugadzirwe mafuta emotokari nenzimbe chakubatsirai zvakadi kana kuti chakukanganisirai zvakadi?
Chiri kubatsira ngotoona zviro zvotochinja maeka tisitoona asi zvino zvinotoona madiridziro atamuno.
Chii chamuri kunyanyofarira pachirongwa chauya munomu ichi chekurima kunyanya pakurima apa?
Pakurima toda kangu takaswa kuti kai pagore muri vakatatu magwere muri makaviri kamwe kebinzi.
Timbotaurirai kuti apo chirongwa chasati chauya muchimbozvifambisa sei?
Chirongwa chauya taingoenda kumamunda ikwe tichigashirwa madhona, saka zviro zvemadhona hakusitorina.
Zvakanaka here kuti madhona asange ariko munge makungozviitira omega?
Kudai zvaitobvira zvaitoita zvese kuti hafu ndokupona kwedu.
Zvakanaka ngoti toona kuti madiriso etapuaya toona ngatomafarira maningi ngokuti anozi pagore tolima katatu. Zvasiyana mvura iya itawana kuti nguva imwe tolima chibagwe chedu chotsva. Ngwamba zvodai izvi topuwa mvura yekudiridza. Topuwa mvura yekudiridza inotivhisira chikafu chedu. Tochiona ngazvoda kuti parisito pakati pomwoyo wedu.
Ndanzwa kuti inini vamwe wenyu vanga vasingafariri chirongwa ichi vasati vanyatsokuziva kuti chinofamba sei. Vari kwere vachisiri kuchifarira ende vakufunga sei vanga vachiri kuchifarira?
Zinjiro vantu wetanga zvotofarira muntu wese. Ngotochiona kuti zvechinja manje. Vasatanga vazvidzanga zvisingabatsiri. Zvino kubozviona vantu vese kutosimukira kuti atozviramba kuti dikaruwa kuupenyu hwako autokusimukira. Kuti esitoona kuti zvoda kuti paupenyu hwakanaka.
Wana baba vari kuti chii kudzimbawo kuna ana sabhuku nenyaya yechirongwa icho chichi? Vana baba vari kuzvifarira here?
Vari kutozvifarira zvomene. Zvokuti kuti utama kamari muntu unotonyanga kuti nganditowana wanditozvoita umweni. Vari kuzvifarira maningi vana baba nemadzimambo edu. Vari kuzvifarira.
Ndiri kunzwa kuti vamwe vanga vachichema nekuti vanga vane mahekta akawanda vasati chirongwa chisati chauya. Pakauya chirongwa vanga vakupiwa half hectare, vanga vangofunga kuti half hectare inenge shoma pane yandandinayo. Vakufunga